Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. We are Millennial Mom. If you don't know who is who, I'm Millennial. This is Mom. Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, I'm Mom or Kay from Millennial Mom. Now tonight we're going to talk about Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 10, Love is Up in the Air. But of course, before I begin, don't forget, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already joined the family, leave your comments because hey, I like reading what you have to say too, hearing what you saw from the episode maybe I missed. And also share the video to your friends, family, and just push it out to get it out in the YouTube community. All right, so on tonight's episode, I don't really feel it gave a whole lot. Now it did put a spotlight on the couples who may not be doing so well, because we see later in the episode the experts, mainly Dr. Pepper, talking about there's going to be activities that the couples are gonna have. It's the next morning after the housewarming parties. And first, let's just start off with Eris. He's in confessionals. Apparently he's sick. He caught the C19. He's not feeling well. He said he's feeling really bad and he has to make himself, some soup or make himself some food. He's waiting for Jasmine to come home from work. She's been gone a long time. It's been a long day. And I'm thinking, okay, so when Jasmine does come home, will she be staying in another room, or will she stay in the living room or go back to her own place? Because with that type of sickness, there's special precautions. Next, we have Clint. Clint is having a video call with his mom. So he's asking his mom about business. Clint's mom has her own business, and he's saying that as a business owner, would you put all your time into just making the business work and not into your relationship? What would you do? So his mom says, well, if the business is brand new, yes, in the beginning, I think I would take more time into making sure it was a success and getting off the ground. And Clint had to think about it for a minute. He's in confessional. He's saying, well, he understands that, he's got a different perspective because his mom said, when she started, what she had to do. But at the same time, he feels there should be a work-life balance. Like, Gina's into her salon, yes, but, she signed up for this process. They're married now, so where's the fine line? And from Clint's perspective, I definitely get it. So when we see Kirsten, she's FaceTiming her friend Elise. She's telling Elise about her honeymoon. Kirsten said during her entire honeymoon, she had a great time. It was amazing. Even moving to the apartment was amazing. Elisa said, ooh, girl, I see you blushing. Now, see, I just can't get past what I saw on the after party. So as Kirsten is talking to Elise, she's saying that Shaq works a lot, he's gone a long time, or he's just out in his activities. She's tried to stay up waiting for him, but she's fell asleep because it's just been a long day. Now, Elise says, well, if Shaquille really wants to be with you and make it work, he's gonna have to find time to make you a priority. And then Kirsten goes on to say that Shaquille hosts events for the students and how he's a mentor to the young men. Kirsten says she understands the process, but she's trying to give him grace. But Elise says to Kirsten that, you can't really be missing time together. She says she knows that Kirsten needs to have an emotional bond, and Kirsten's kind of closed off with her emotions at times, but they both need to be there for each other and open up and be vulnerable. So I think the conversation that Kirsten's having with Elise and the things that we heard Shaquille say to Kirsten and just along the way, it's a little bit one-sided. So when we have Chris and Nicole, they're having a couples massage. Nicole says she's excited. She's never had a couples massage before. But Chris in confessional says the last time he had one was about 8 years ago with a toxic ex, but he's hoping this time will be different. I would hope so too. And I think Nicole goes out of her way to show Chris that she's comfortable, but I think her way is a little bit right now too much chit-chat aggressive for Chris, so I think he's pulling back just a little bit. Now, while they're having their couples massage, they're having a little bit of small talk, and Nicole feels that they're both on the same page, but she has doubts that Chris will fall in love with her. And Chris says he knows that Nicole has these feelings, but he's not comfortable in saying it to her just yet. And they do talk about it a little bit in the episode. So when we see Clint and Gina again, he went to go visit Gina at her salon. I don't think Gina was expecting Clint to be there, although she was like, hey, how are you? While her other staff members were there too. It was like the hey, like a little awkward laugh and an awkward smile. But in confessionals, Gina says that she was happy that Clint was there, happy that he gets to see her around her friends and her co-workers and to be in the salons so he can see what she does and how she, her workday flows. And Clint, I think Clint will kind of like get along with anybody. He's going with the flow. And I do think Clint went there to get time with Gina. One of Gina's staff members says to Clint, so you know what? You look like the type that you're messy. Clint says, what do you mean? And Gina's like, messy? Why would you say that? I'm thinking, Gina, you probably know why you said that, because you probably told them about the slender athletic comment. And since you spend a lot of time at your business, that would be the only reason why she would say, oh, you look messy. Because who just says that to somebody off top? Later in the evening, Nicole has planned a special date for Chris. She says she's been wanting to try a little bar or restaurant that's in her neighborhood, but she's waiting on somebody special to go there with. So I guess now she has someone special, which is Chris. And as they're sitting down having drinks, Chris says that they're growing in the relationship every day, and he's proud to call Nicole his wife. Nicole says the goal is to talk about love and how do we know that we're going to be ready to say it, and how do we go about having those discussions. Chris says to Nicole he doesn't want to be pressured to say that I love you. When he's ready, he'll say it. Now, Chris in confessional did say that he feels like Nicole wants him to say I love you first, and she definitely does. But Chris says he said I love you first in a previous relationship or in his past relationships, and sometimes didn't really mean it. So when you put it out there, it's there. So he doesn't want to go down that road again. So now we see this scene with Dr. Pepper saying that some couples are doing well and others are not. So the experts are giving the couples extra tasks to bring them together. First up for the activity, we have Gina and Clint. Now before Clint gets to asking the questions, he says, oh, well, let's hold hands. Now I'm not sure if that's part of the activity, but they hold hands and the questions are asked. And the first question is, what gives or brings you joy? And how do you overcome adversity? Clint says he has 3 things that brings him joy, but the main thing is food. So Clint is definitely a foodie. So then Gina answered a question about adversity, how she overcame it. She says she had to go through therapy for her parents' divorce and to help her navigate the feelings and emotions. And she feels like she's better off from when she was then till she is today. She feels like she's a better person. And then Clint says his experience with adversity was an ex-girlfriend of his suffered a miscarriage. He said he was fully committed to the process. He was telling us he was fully committed to be a father. Even if they weren't together anymore, he was willing and able to be there for financial, emotional support, and anything else that the baby needed. But when the miscarriage happened, he just, went into a shell. He ended up having an adverse physical and emotional response. And, it just wasn't a good time in his life. Gina says in her confessional that she was happy, and actually she was surprised that Clint actually shared something like that with her. And she wonders if this is now a place where they can grow and talk about things. And hopefully, if it is, they can get past those challenges. When we see Shaquille and Kirsten, they're talking about love and how did they know that they were in love. So Shaq says he's been in love before. Kirsten says, well, how do you know? He said it was someone who took their time with him, was patient with him, and that was a great feeling that he had and something that he's never had before. He said although his mom did the best that she could, he just felt like he was missing something. So when he didn't play sports and he was into his education, so Shaq kind of felt like he was just thrown out into the world as a young man without any fatherly direction. And then we have Kirsten. She said she can relate. She was with someone for years who took her heart, and it was hard for her to navigate, and it was hard for her to heal. In confessional, Kirsten says hopefully that her and Shaquille can fall in love, and it's something that they can work on. So then Shaq asks Kirsten, so what will it take for you to fall in love? And Kirsten says, I'm big on quality time. Shaq was looking at her like, Like time will tell. And Kirsten said, yeah, time will tell. And so when Kirsten says she wants to spend time with him, she tells Shaq that she wants the time spent to be intentional. And when she said that, the way Shaquille looked at her, I mean, he rolled his eyes. He rolled his eyes and gave her a side eye at the same time. Now in a quick scene, we have Eris and Jasmine. So apparently Eris is better. He's over the C19. Jasmine and Eris are taking her dog for a quick grooming bath that they're doing themselves. Eris says this is his way of thanking Jasmine for being there for him and showing her support when he was sick. He wants to show her he appreciates her effort. So now back at the apartment with Chris and Nicole, he says he wants to look good for her and says to Nicole he has some body stuff he wants to work on and he's not there yet, but he just wants to let her know. But Nicole says, oh no, I think you look good. I have things to work on too. And you know what? We could work on them together. I like who you are. And then Chris says to Nicole, well, I want to tell you something because I don't want you to find out about it afterwards or hear from somebody else. I want you to hear it from me. He said, I was asked a question about your appearance, like my wife's appearance, and Chris said that, well, she's a little thicker than he would normally date. And that right there, I mean, the look on Nicole's face, and I can't blame her because listen, they just heard the comments from Clint and Gina, and this doesn't need to be a Clint and Gina 2.0. So in a way, I'm glad that Chris said it now because things have a way of coming back up. But this really struck a nerve with Nicole. She said, what? You know, in confessional, she was like, Chris really has some balls. Like, I can't believe he said that. But she told Chris, like, don't say that. She said, it's different when I say that about me, but it's different if you say that about me. She goes on to give the explanation that growing up in New York, there's a lot of influences around. So she had a type of body dysmorphia growing up. Things were hard for her. You know, she sees her body in a certain way than it really is. And she said, you know what? I will always be thick. It's just genetic. Chris is trying to reassure her, saying, you know, that's what I said. I just want to let you know, but you know, you look great. I'm not saying it about you. I'm just saying like what normally would be, but you know, he's trying, but I don't think Nicole is necessarily buying it. So then in the next scene, Clint has set up a boating or sailing date for Gina, and Gina seems like she's going along with it. I like seeing Clint in his element. This is a good look for him. And so we get to see the things that he loves because you know what? It's been a lot about the relationship, how it's been rocky, Gina and her business. So now we get to see Clint, like I said, doing what he loves to do. So Gina is on the boat and she's looking around and I'm really surprised that Gina is being a good sport about it. She's being patient. And Gina actually goes on to say that she enjoyed herself. Like, it's very relaxing and she can see why Clint likes being on the water. And then Clint explains to Gina that his family goes back 8 generations of sailing and different little things on the water. So this is in his blood. This is what he likes to do. So again, Clint is hopeful that being in this element and spending time with Gina, it'll help them grow even more closer together. Now it's the next evening and we're back at Kirsten and Shaquille's house. He's invited over his mentees. He said the young men are a huge part of his life and he's hoping that Kristen will see why he spends a lot of time with them. It's about 4 of the young men. They're hanging out and they're actually having a chance to ask questions to Shaquille and Kirsten. One, they're surprised that Shaquille actually went through and got married, but they say Kirsten's pretty. One even says, oh, you're a pretty girl. How do you do your hair? Or who does your hair? You know, I was like, what? You asking her about her hair? But I guess that's what they wanted to know. And then one of the mentees said that he felt like Shaquille was corny at first, but realized that Shaquille was just one of them. And, you know, Shaquille takes the time to make them comfortable and, you know, guide them and hear what they have to say. And the mentees really appreciate Shaquille for that. And then one of the mentees asked Shaquille, so how do you feel about not taking that opportunity? So apparently there was an opportunity on the table, maybe another city or state that Shaquille turned down because he was married to Kirsten and that the relationship is so new that he didn't want to, you know, take time away or uproot them so fast because, you know, they were just getting to know each other. In confessional, Kirsten says she knows that he turned down the opportunity for her, but at the same time, she's hoping that he is not holding back because of her either. So, and you can see that when Shaquille was talking about it after the fact, that there was some pain on his face from the decision he had to make. So then we move back to Jasmine and Eris. So they're at the beginning of their activity, and one thing that they talk about is the love question. And so Eris asked Jasmine, how many times have you been in love? He was like, oh, well, let me guess, 5. You know, he's being sarcastic. And Jasmine said, no, not 5. I've been in love 3 times. He goes, oh, well, I was close. Just the conversation, just the energy that's there. I don't think he's really asking because he wants to know. I think he's asking just because it's the activity. I mean, just the disconnect is ringing big red flags in that relationship. But then Jasmine turned the question back to him. She's like, well, how many times you been in love? She's like, oh, never mind. So the sarcasm was tit for tat, back and forth. So then Eris asked, so when you were in love, like, was it scary? And Jasmine was like, no, it wasn't scary. She was explaining, like, when you're in love with someone, you know, why would it be scary? You're opening up and giving yourself to that person. And then Eris says, well, at the age of 28, he was almost in love. He was starting to open his heart, and then the relationship didn't work out. I guess that's the one that goes to him. And then he put his walls back up. So pretty much it's been a decade since he experienced the feelings of almost love. So then Eris says, are you in love in this relationship? Are you finding yourself falling in love? Jasmine said, no. She goes, but I'm hopeful to find love because I'm a hopeless romantic. So whatever happened to me in the past, you know, I'm not holding that for my future. And I agree with that. Like, everyone is not the same. Everyone is not your past relationship. There is caution that you take, but there's just not like a caution the way Eris is taking, like, oh, I'm never going to be loved because somebody ghosted me at 28. I mean, that was 10 years ago. Now, later in the evening, Eris sets up a game night. He decides that they can play Never Have I Ever. So once they start playing, it was all sex-related questions. One question in particular was from Eris to Jasmine, like, have you ever kissed a girl? She said no. Then he said, someone said, have you ever had a threesome? He said no, but then he said, oh, I've had orgies. That right there threw the whole game off. Because she's like, orgies? He's like, yeah. But then Eris told Jasmine that her life was boring because she's never had orgies and she's never kissed a girl. And Jasmine actually called him out on that. And then Eris sat back in the chair and was like, see, man, this is the reason why you need to do this before you decide to even get married. I'm thinking, who are you talking to? Are you talking to Jasmine or are you talking for yourself? So now moving to the next day, Shaquille has brought Kirsten to the plant shop. He feels like spending quality time outside the house will help them, you know, bond, spend more quality time, you know, do something different and do something that he likes to do, something he loves, because he feels like he's doing things that only Kirsten likes to do, like that one-sided, like I was mentioning earlier. So as they're walking around the plant shop, he's showing Kirsten different plants that he likes, and it was even talk about like getting a few plants and giving them names. The look on Kirsten's face was just like she did not want to be there. She's like, we don't got to give these plants names, just all kind of issues. So to me, going out getting those plants and just trying to bond was another fail. So when we see them again, it's later in the evening, and Kirsten has set up a spa date for Shaquille at home. So as they're talking, they're asking, is there anything that you want to tell me, we want to talk about for each other, to open up? Shaquille says that, yes, you know, I've had a lot of insecurities in my life. He talks about how he was raised, how he didn't play sports, how he turned bald in his 20s, and his scar on the forehead. Now, you know that bald head, Kirsten did say before she got married, she didn't want no bald-headed man. So, and then Kirsten says, yeah, well, there's tons of things that you don't know about me. Shaquille says, well, tell me. Kirsten says, well, you know, I tend not to share my emotions. He said, yeah, I already know about you, but tell me something I don't know. And then Kirsten is hemming and hawing. She's like, well, there's lots of things you don't know. And Kirsten could not come up with anything to say. Shaquille said, I thought you said you had tons of things. He said, that is the point. He's telling Kirsten, you have this big old wall up that I can't seem to get you to bring down. He says, is there something from your previous relationship you haven't healed from? What is it? Kirsten just saying there listening, but not really saying anything. Shaquille goes on to say, look, we're married. I'm committed to you. I'm committed to this 100%. He said it's going to be hard for him if this continues to say yes and be committed on decision day. And he's hoping that they can break through and get to, a better point and go forward after that without the help of the experts. And Kirsten was telling Shaq the same thing. She hopes that they can get to that place at decision day too. And then she thanks Shaquille for still rocking with her. And you know what? The music they were playing at the end after Kirsten said that, and she had this look on her face as well, the music was so appropriate for her. There's a few individuals in this process who definitely don't seem to be honest with themselves or in their relationship, and it's time to see the experts actually come visit to see how it is they can get these couples on the same page, because every one of them, including Chris and Nicole, are struggling. So now as we move to the end of the episode, we have Clint and Gina again. After their sailing date, they're out on the town. They're watching the PBR, the Professional Bull Riding Rodeo, I believe it's called. They're having a good time, or shall I say, Gina's having a good time. This is her element. She is cutting loose, and that was that. That was the end of the episode. Now, next week's episode is the 1 month anniversary of the couples, and it just seems like in the clips, the same couples are going to be having the same struggles. So, all right, everyone. So until next week, thank you all again for watching. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share. And until next week, live simply, be grateful.